So we're now in a position whereby we've got our Raspberry Pi with Wi-Fi enabled, and we've enabled the secure shell access so that we can use Apache to actually get into the machine rather than typing directly onto the machine itself. I made a couple of preparations here. I've got a text file with all of my commands, and you're going to get that as well with the course. And the idea of those text commands is that you can just cut and paste those into Apache. But first of all, we need to actually connect with the Raspberry Pi on the IP address on there. You'll be able to see what IP address that the Pi gets when you just watch it install. So we're going to log on. So we've now got a command prompt, and I'm just going to go through those commands that I gave you earlier on that we actually videoed. They weren't particularly easy to see. The first one was to have a look at adding in some network parts. So this part here, network equals, and then the actual security part there. So that's how it should look. The next one was we changed the interfaces. And again, what we changed here was this part here, which was the WLAN 0, in other words, wireless network, and we've changed that to DHCP rather than to manual. And the last thing that we did was that we put in this command here, which is raspberry config, sudo, and we went to option number 5 and we enabled SSH. Okay, so that's where we are, and we're up to that part now. So the first thing we're going to do here is just to update the Raspberry Pi. And again, if we just copy and paste these into the command, it's going to be a lot quicker. So this is the first time it's been updated. Clearly it's connected to the internet okay, and it's going to go off and it's going to update those. Okay, that seems to have worked okay. We're now going to do the next command, which is to upgrade the version of Jessie. So with everything updated and upgraded, we're ready to install the main web server, which is Apache. And the way we do that is just to cut and paste this command here. Just to let you know that the sudo part of it means that you are acting as a super user or administrator on the Linux system. The apt-get part of it is the installation of a program, and Apache 2 is the actual version of Apache that we're installing. Okay, that seems to have worked okay, and it will have started it. So what I'm going to do is just quickly test that. And you can see that by putting that into an internet browser, we get the default page of Apache 2 web server. It's working okay, in other words. The next thing we need to do is to install a program called PHP. PHP is a scripting language, and it works with Mysql and it works with Apache nicely. Okay, the next command we've got on the list here is to actually create a file called index.php. I'm going to miss that out because I just don't really need to test out that PHP is working, because I kind of know it does. We're now going to restart the actual web server itself, because we've installed PHP. And then we're going to move quickly on to installing MySQL. MySQL will want us to give it a password. That password is completely different to the logon password or any user profile password that you might have. The idea being really is that it's a master password for MySQL. So this is the part whereby we need to put in a new password. And then it continues to install the package. So with that done now, MySQL is now being fully installed. We now again need to restart the web server. And we're all ready to go. We've actually got what's known as a LAMP server, which is Linux, Apache, MySQL and PHP. And we're ready to install WordPress so that we can host a website. So let's move on to just changing our directory where actually we're going to be downloading the program to a directory called var www.html. In there will be some files, so I want to get rid of those. RM is to delete any files in there with the asterisk there. We're now going to go over to the internet to download the latest version of WordPress, and we use the wget command to do that. So sudo wget will now download the very latest version of WordPress. You'll notice that the file itself is not called WordPress, it's called latest.tar.gz, and the idea of that is that the tar part is exactly the same as a zip file, and the next command that we're going to do will be to unzip or uncompress the actual file itself. The idea of compression really is to save download time so that we can get it down quicker and therefore save bandwidth. As you can see, it's a pretty quick program to download. It's only 7.6 megs, and so it took less than a minute to come down, the very latest version. This next command here is to uncompress it. It's done that. This one here is to actually, what it's going to do is it's going to move the contents of the uncompressed directory called WordPress and put it into the directory we're already in. There's a nice little command here which tidies up the installation, including getting rid of the latest version of WordPress. So you don't need to store a 7.6 meg file on your SD card, micro SD card, if you don't need it. So if we now look at ls is the directory command, so that's just this is what you see in the actual directory at the moment. So you can see that WordPress has come down and is ready to be installed. Now there's a problem with permissions and security. When we've installed the Linux system, we've given certain permissions and to files. We now want, this is going to be what's known as a public facing file system, so it means that people from the public could actually hack your system. So we need to tidy that up and tie it down a little. So we're going to change the ownership to the web server. That's that done. We are going to log into, we're going to now need to create a database. the database we're going to call WordPress. That's done. Control D. Okay, we're now actually ready to get on and configure the WordPress program. So this is the actual WordPress setup program. So if you've got to here, that means you've been successful in everything that you've done in terms of the installation. So we're going to accept the defaults of having English United States. Not quite correct, is it? And we're going to now go through this process. So the database name is WordPress, and the username is going to be root, and the password is the password that I set earlier on, and I'm going to submit that now, and I'm going to run the installation. Now this depends on what the installation is going to be called. I'm going to call this Raspberry Pi. I'm going to put a username in there as well. I'm going to keep this password here, and I'm going to put that password. When it comes to passwords, those are the kinds of passwords that you really need to be using on your system. And I'm going to put an email address there, and that will now install WordPress. We're into the WordPress dashboard. That means again we've been successful in installing WordPress. We need to change one thing before we can really get going with it. We need to change the permalinks here. And we need to put that as the post name, this one here. And we're going to need to save those changes. Once we've done that, we can come back to the to the command prompt, and we just need to do some changes here, which is this rewrite program. Suggesting a restart. We've got a couple of other things that I want to do with Apache, and this one here is to change the sites available. So we're going to add, after line 1, this part here. Okay. And now we need to restart the server once again. That's now a fully installed WordPress on your Raspberry Pi. It then allows you to go to your the installation, and you can see we've got a website ready. You can start customizing it now. You can start adding your own content, and before long you're going to be able to connect to this from the outside world.